If you crack first, Dave, it won't make you any less of a man.
I'm nowhere near cracking.
Neither am I, my friend.
Dave. And oh, Matthew, what is it now? For God's sake, no one's smoking, okay? But nothing! You know what we need around here is an anti-whining ordinance. So just sip your sniveling little lip and all your skinny ass out of her!
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. I've got a little bit of connectivity issues, so there's no video today, but I wanted to bring my good friend Perch on the channel to talk about what feels like an enormous change for the comic book industry. Perch, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm glad you could make it. So, what are your initial thoughts? Just, is this as enormous a change for comic books as it feels like it is to me, with Marvel moving away from Diamond and moving to Penguin Random House, obviously with the start date of October 1st?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty huge move for the industry. I think there are a lot of things around this that are going to affect Marvel, affect the comic industry as a whole, definitely affect the indies. I mean, it's everybody is going to be affected by this, and it's going to be a pretty sizable change. Yes.
I've seen some naysayers say this is the death of comic books. This is, we're in the death throes. This is the first move of many to kind of kill off the direct market. I see this as an enormous opportunity to actually bring people into the direct market. I imagine with what Penguin Random House has done in the past, with their publishing record, that we're going to see Marvel in new places and in new formats, which I think could be really exciting to draw in new readers.
Yeah, I think so I think this is positive in all things considered, but like we've talked about it before, I've talked about it too. Change comes with winners and losers, and there will be losers in this. There will be people who they're going to get shaken out of this process. And I think you can look at this and see several places where it will hurt. But overall, I think it's a positive move for the industry. I think that Penguin Random House, as you mentioned, they're going to put the comics into other places. They've stated directly that they intend to do that. They have formats and they have a vehicle into places like grocery stores that comics haven't been for a long time, that have served digests and other things. They certainly have the relationship with the big bookstores and the indie bookstores alike. And so you're going to see comics in more places. Now, there's no way you're going to see 500 comics in a grocery store, or the return of spinner racks and all that. That's a way of vending comics that is out of date at this point, even though I love them. Would love to see them somewhere. But you are going to see, I mean, it's very conceivable you'll see things like King in Black or kind of the big issues show up in places that resemble kind of what the newsstand used to be. It's very likely we will see that.
So I remember when DC essentially added UCS and Lunar distribution while still in partnership with Diamond. Eventually, they, not too long afterwards, they kind of just dropped Diamond altogether. It felt like a big change. This feels like a seismic change. Like, can you even wrap your head around it? And were there really a lot of signs there, or were people expecting this?
I think there were signs. Something had to give. Diamond was not healthy, and they weren't healthy before. I think DC identified early on, and I mean, even back to the Karen Berger days, that there was, Diamond was not modernizing. They were stubborn in some ways to update some of their processes, and it was a frustration point. And I think them leaving last year was a key indicator that if a better option appeared, they would take it. And I think you and I talked about it at the time that Marvel tends to be a follower company in most respects, and it was highly likely that they're at least doing their own investigation and looking to other things they could do. So I think that was one very big sign. The other kind of really obvious sign is that Disney Publishing has this relationship with Penguin Random House. They've had a lot of success there. If you look at the charts of what sells on places like Amazon, you'll notice that it's a lot of books that are not comics. They're more for kids and all ages. They compete more with things like Dogman and stuff like that. That's what's at the top of Marvel's chart. And that's all primarily through things like Disney Publishing, not through Marvel. So it makes sense, especially in this area where businesses are also contracting. The pandemic, we know that's hit Disney pretty hard, that it was very likely they were going to move things together. And if they're going to move things together, it makes all the sense in the world for Marvel to go Penguin Random House as opposed to other publishing efforts through Disney going to Diamond.
So what's interesting about this is if people don't know this, and I think most of them do, that you are a comic book retailer, you have been in the past, and you're about to open up a new shop, correct?
Yep, that is all correct. And I already have a vendor account with Penguin Random House. So
one of the standout points when you think about what DC did with Lunar being DCBS is that they had already, that was their market. Now they hadn't distributed that level. They probably hadn't distributed that many comics, but they had served that market and they already had relationships. Penguin Random House does not have these relationships. Is that going to be an inhibitor? And do you think that's one of the reasons that they're giving comic shops out to October to kind of get ready for this change?
Well, I think the out to October has more to do with moving this content in on the Penguin Random House size. I know that actually a number of retailers, comic retailers, do have a relationship with Penguin Random House because they were carrying other things, and so I do think that there were some of these accounts set up already. Penguin Random House, obviously, it services independent bookstores and other things. I think there's going to be some retailers that will complain, certainly about the move, but I mean, keep in mind, as an incentive to go through this process, nearly every every comic shop retailer will receive a pretty significant discount, both in just the comics themselves and also the shipping.
The freight is going to be free. That is enormous.
Freight is free, and Penguin Random House is they're at least coming in with a 50% discount for the account. And that's more than most people were getting under Diamond. A few people, the really big guys, were getting more. But I would argue even the freight itself might offset that. It depends. Diamond had a spider web of crazy deals out there, but for most people, it's cheaper.
There is a group of people out there that are probably kind of flapping in the wind because you have DC Comics at Lunar along with Scout Comics. Now you have Marvel moving over to Penguin Random House. We have, I believe, Bad Idea doing self-distribution, but for the most part, a lot of these other independent comic book publishers have exclusive agreements, or at least long-standing agreements with Diamond. I know AWA, just signed an exclusive agreement with Diamond. What are they going to do? Is Diamond going to be able even to shift and adjust their business model to conform to this new environment where they're no longer the top dog?
I mean, it's going to hurt them very badly. I think the Diamond had big question marks to their viability before this, and this doesn't help. So I have steep concerns if Diamond survives this. There's going to have to be massive changes and scale backs and cuts on their end. Now, most of the exclusive agreements, and I have not seen all of them, but I have seen a couple that publishers have with Diamond, do dictate a set of terms, and Diamond is arguably in breach of those terms. So I think if a publisher has an agreement with Diamond, they could probably get out of it based on the changes that have taken place and other pieces. I think even the warehouse closing would probably necessitate being able to get out of that agreement. However, the challenge is that a lot of publishers are owed money by Diamond, or they have stock with Diamond. I mean, there's this problem where, and this is true for comic shops as well. If comic shops that also owe Diamond money, there's a lot of money that is in the wrong hands at the moment that is loaned one place or another. And I think that's going to hit the small indie publishers and the retailers as this change takes place. And that's what I think you're going to see a lot of between now and October. But my bet, because Penguin Random House is actively soliciting it, and people should understand that, they said they announced this as an exclusive deal for Marvel and Penguin Random House, but it's exclusive to Marvel. Penguin Random House can carry all the comic publishers they want, and they want to carry more. And so you will see other publishers move. And I think at this point, if you're an indie publisher, and this is the pain part, if you don't have a way out of Diamond at this point, you're going to be in trouble, because you're just going to fall off the catalog. You're already struggling for attention with the big guys, and this is going to make matters much worse.
So there's another set of people that we haven't discussed here that I don't know how they're going to be affected, but we're talking about overseas customers, specifically in Europe. Now, Lunar does not distribute to Europe. DC still has a Diamond contract for Diamond Comics to distribute in Europe. Obviously, Penguin Random House should have no problems there.
Right.
If Diamond folds, can they just keep their European distribution part open while they collapse the other parts of the business, or or is DC going to have to go out there and find new partnerships while the other indies are doing the same thing?
So I would be shocked if DC does not find their way to Penguin Random House as well. I think what you're seeing a new monopoly in a sense. I think Penguin Random House will be the company, and everything's going to move there. I think you're going to see businesses like Diamond kind of try and transform themselves into being a wholesaler, where they can take product from Penguin Random House and redistribute. I think they'll have to change their business model around to how they service a comic industry in a unique way, be kind of that experience-driven wholesaler. It's just gonna be tough for them. They don't have the best rep for that. So I think you're just, this is a shift. I think you're gonna see a lot of people move over. Keep in mind, and this is one nuance people have been bringing up, DC, when they made this change last year, they picked two kind of pseudo retailers. You picked Midtown, you picked direct comic book. They picked two retailers to basically service as the new distributors for what they did. Obviously, one of them went away. We're left with Lunar. The end game for DC though is to be right in the same kind of market as Penguin Random House, is this kind of market. That was a patch to get them away, and I do believe, which you and I think speculated at the time, that Lunar was still a short-term option while they looked for someplace else to go. And I think that someplace else is ultimately going to be Penguin Random House.
Steve Geppi has put on a good face, and this is what he had to say. We value our almost 40-year relationship with Marvel and are pleased that we will continue selling Marvel products to the direct market and other channels. The change Marvel announced today represents a behind-the-scenes shift and how Diamond interacts with Marvel for certain products, but does not impact our ability to supply our customers with Marvel comics, trades, and graphic novels. I expect the discount terms under which our retail partners order these Marvel products to change, and Diamond will communicate that information to our customers well in advance of any adjustments. While there are still details of this new arrangement to work through, my leadership team and I are committed to making the supply change as operationally seamless as possible. Now, I think he's being pretty pie in the sky there, because operating as a wholesale, he's going to get new terms of service directly through Penguin Random House. They won't be able to offer the same discounts, and they don't offer free freight, which is something that is very desirable through Penguin Random House. He's putting on a brave face, but Steve Geppi in Diamond Comics has to know this is almost a death nail.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has to. Of course, he has to carry his business forward. And I mean, Steve Geppi's a savvy guy. I think he's going to figure out ways that he can kind of navigate this new world. But it's going to be hard. I mean, this is a major moment. I mean, I think, and this has been happening all over the place. We talk about comics, and we have this kind of myopic view sometimes about the comic industry. But if you talk about books in general, I mean, last year, Penguin Random House, when they stated their intentions to buy Simon & Schuster, which is a $2 billion deal. I mean, that's the level we're playing with. This publisher, Penguin Random House, is the publisher of North America, certainly. And they are building a model where they are hitting every single part of the industry. They will control, in many cases, how much their authors are paid, how bookstores are run. They are dominant here, and so what Steve Geppi and Diamond's going to have to do is figure out if they can be part of that value chain, where they fit in. But I know some other people were speculating that maybe this will help lead to a sale of Diamond to a company like Amazon. The problem is, with the debts and the other assets that are built up, I mean, the price tag for Diamond in a world without Marvel is a lot smaller. And it's a tough situation. And I can't stress enough, this is a massive change for the industry. It is going to change how comics get done. It is definitely putting in a lot of a shot of adrenaline, frankly, into comics. This, Penguin Random House intends to dominate this industry and put their products, books, comics, everything, everywhere. And it is, so we are going to get some of what we want, but keep in mind, you're getting it from a giant mega corporation. So it's not going to be everything you want, but definitely there is zero chance comics are going to fade away and disappear. Anyone who thought they were a dinosaur is this news flies in the face of that.
when I read this information, my initial thoughts were, this is exciting to me. Now that I've had some time to think about it, I'm of the same mindset. This is exciting. This means that Penguin Random House, the market leader in this space in North America at least, sees a lot of potential in Marvel Comics, just the comic book industry in general, that there's a way forward, that there's new customers to be gained, and that publishing periodic comic books, as well as other forms, I imagine we're going to get digests, things of that nature, are a way of the future and a way to make money as we see people kind of move away from paperless. What are your thoughts? Is this exciting to you?
No, I mean, I would have preferred if I was completely controlling all this, I would have preferred a couple major companies serving as distributors that people could choose from. I don't relish the idea of being one giant overlord again. But on the plus side, this is a better overlord than the one we had before. This is a more competent one. It's one that's going to push things more places. I'm very enthusiastic about getting comics into more places and comic shops. I know that some retailers really balk at that, but as we've talked about, that's the only way you're going to get new eyes on comics and bring in new audiences. Penguin Random House has a very effective route to getting kids comics, so it's going to bring a new generation of readers up. I think this makes sense. I mean, I've been kind of shouting into the wind for a long time. Kids love graphic novels, and so do teens, and so do adults. They love this idea of sequential art. It's just that the content has completely missed the audience. I not to be a broken record, I think we're in for, and we're in the middle of it, a 2-year massive change in the industry. And this is kind of right in the center of it. Penguin Random House are going to radically enforce deadlines. They are that's one of the negatives that a lot of people in the book industry say, is that they're a taskmaster for putting things out on time. And so kind of some of what we've seen with Marvel of, comics double shipping and then nothing for 2 months, and what's going on with the X line right now, where there's no consistency or plan for how comics are going out. Penguin Random House will not accept that as an answer. So it's that is going to absolutely change. And I think that's a great thing, frankly, to get more on that method. I think this is good. For sure. I do think there's some hypocrisy from all the people who are basically claiming that DC was a sociopathic, terrible company a year ago and now are cheering this move. I think it just shows the kind of the inherent hypocrisy of a lot of people on the lower end. Ironically enough, I think a lot of the people, the creators on the lower end are not going to survive this change. They're the indie companies they've been working with that have been teetering on not surviving are going to go out. I think that some of these creators who've worked for places like Marvel and DC are going to not get work under new regimes. I think this is positive overall, but it's going to be a painful year for quite a few people. I think throughout 2021, I do think that we are going to see significant cost cuts and reductions at Marvel as part of this. There is already, there's already at least some word. I don't know. Some rumor that we are seeing Disney publishing people get involved with David Gabriel's distribution arm, and that's going to change a lot of things, and it's going to change. So I think in the end, though, this is something necessary. It's something better off, and my only hesitation is just I wish it just wasn't one giant megacorp.
All right, so this is my last question. We have the direct market. A lot of retailers, not all retailers, maybe not even a majority of retailers, but a very loud portion of retailers are completely against any type of change, and that think when you start offering comic books or the similar product that they are selling in their comic stores, that it is essentially the end of their business. If you're selling it digitally, day and date, it's the end of the business. If you're offering $10 anthologies in Walmart, it's the end of the industry. Is this the end of the industry as far as the direct market as we know it?
No, I think if you're a retailer and you drag your feet, you're going to get rubbed out of this process. You're not going to survive it. You're going to have to embrace the change that has come. But if you do that, you're going to be healthier. I think Penguin Random House is going to look at every single comic book shop out there, and they're going to see a footprint for their entire product line. One of the things that Penguin Random House has expressly stated as their growth objective is that they want more booksellers out there. And when they say that, they mean all books. They mean content for kids. They mean everything. So, if you're a comic shop and you've already started to diversify your business, and maybe you're a little tired of trying to get 20% of your cash coming from Funko sales, Penguin Random House is going to have a lot of other product they're going to want you to sell that frankly will stabilize and help your shop. It will make you stronger and give you some other things you can sell. I think this is very healthy for comic shops, and they'd be insane to reject it or drag their feet. I think the people who do that will not survive this process. And I think that the ones who embrace it are going to find that their world is not so dependent on Marvel and what they do. As another aside with all this, Marvel has been used to be the person calling the shots, and they will not be anymore. Even Disney, which is a giant, obviously massive corporation, very wealthy, they don't call the shots with Penguin Random House today with Disney Publishing. Disney Publishing is works under Penguin Random House's rules. That was not how it was with Diamond and Marvel. So as Marvel comes into Penguin Random House, they're going to have to conform like everyone else, like all the other, books that are selling more. And frankly, that is going to be very healthy for Marvel. They're going to have to behave themselves. They're going to have to work for it. And that's going to be a good thing.
All right, Perch, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here and talking about this enormous change for the comic book industry. I'm excited for it. I think this can only portend good things, and I cannot wait to see how the next dominoes fall, because I think we are looking at a healthier industry in 12 months.
Yeah, I would go 18, but yeah, we are looking at a healthier industry.